Hey everyone, welcome back to another Mavens of Manufacturing episode. I'm really excited today. We got a cool guest. Her name is Sammy, and she is a process engineer at Aerobotix. Hello, Sammy. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for having me on today.
Yeah, thanks for agreeing to do this. I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I probably should have took care of that before we hit record here, but can you just give us a brief introduction of who you are and then tell us how you got involved with engineering and manufacturing and how your journey led you to where you are today with Aerobotics?
Yeah, for sure. First I'll give you the last name it's Stejskal, just.
Okay.
um, but just a little bit about me. I went to Olivet Nazarene University. I double majored in engineering or industrial engineering and math. It's not what I
Okay.
actually went to college knowing I wanted to do. I actually went into college undecided. I went actually to play basketball, and so I was like, "Oh, I'll just figure out
Okay.
the major thing later." And I initially thought maybe business, but I just loved all the math classes I was taking. I thought maybe I would just major in math or actuarial science or something along those
Hmm.
lines. But my academic advisor pushed me into one or two engineering classes, and I just loved the applied math and the problem solving. It was a little bit more, I guess, like problem solve based rather than theory, kind of like with a lot of the math classes I was taking, which I really loved. But that's kind of how I got involved in engineering.
Okay.
Industrial engineering was really cool to me because there was a lot of like process improvement, continuous improvement, reducing waste, reducing costs, and I like the challenge of trying to improve processes. So that's kind of how I ended up doing industrial engineering. And then math, I just love taking the math classes. It definitely was a GPA boost for me, so definitely kept that as my other major.
That's awesome. So when you were in high school, you didn't know what you wanted to do, which is typical, right? Like, I
Mm.
think the majority of high school students really don't know what they want to do for the rest of their lives when they're in high school. I sure as hell didn't. I'm still trying to figure it out
Yeah.
at almost 40. So I totally understand that. So did you have anyone while you were playing basketball and trying to figure out your major, did you have anyone specific in your life who kind of maybe have inspired you to go down the engineering route, or how did you learn about these classes and sign up for them?
Yeah, so it really was my academic advisor who I just was expressing him like what I liked and what I didn't like, and he was like,
Gotcha.
maybe you should try this. And then talking with my coach a little bit, she was like, you should just go for it, just try it. I know it's different. It's not anything I've even considered, even in high school. I didn't never thought like, okay, yeah, I want to be an engineer. That wasn't really like where I mentally thought I was going to go. But after taking a couple classes, I just loved it so much more than all the other majors I had taken a few classes in. So. Um, yeah, I would say between my academic advisor and my coach, they really encouraged me to kind of move forward with that route.
That's really cool. So what is Aerobotics? How did you get linked up with that company?
Yeah, so Aerobotix, we're a company. We specialize in robotic solutions for aerospace and defense contractors. Um, how I got connected with Aerobotix was after graduating college, I had taken another job as an industrial engineer in the Chicagoland suburbs, and it was okay, but it wasn't really a great fit for me. And I remember talking to one of my friends who actually works at Aerobotix. We were on the same senior design team, and he was like, "We have an opening. You should come down and you should apply for it." So I came down, I interviewed, and I was just super intrigued by. I'd never even been around robots before. I didn't know anything about robotics. And it just was really interesting, like seeing, how the robots work, how they interact with the robots. And I was like, this is
Yeah.
really cool. I think I just want to go out on a limb and just try it. So I ended up accepting the job, and I moved down here like a month or two later, and been here for a little over 2 years now, and I love it.
That's awesome. Where's down here? Because you
Oh, sorry,
said
it's in Huntsville,
there.
Alabama. I
Oh,
was living in Chicago, and then yeah, Huntsville, Alabama. It's like right on the border with Tennessee, so it's not like South Alabama, but
yeah.
it's pretty much on the border with Tennessee.
I have a friend out there. Her name is Ann Wyatt, and she's a doll. Like, I love her so much. She is in workforce recruitment, so she does recruiting,
Oh,
and she
nice.
does recruiting specific for manufacturing. And she's just such a sweetheart. Everybody down there is so nice. Like,
Oh
Tennessee is one
yeah.
of my favorite places to go. I've been to a few places in Alabama, but not Huntsville. But I know I love the food, the people, and the weather down there. So I'm hoping to make my way down there eventually too. So I don't blame you for leaving Chicago because I'm
Yeah.
from the Midwest too. But so when you were in high school, because you said you never knew about robotics, did they have any kind of robotics things in high school, or did you just learn it when you first met with Aerobotics?
Yeah, in high school, I mean, to my knowledge, we didn't have anything. Maybe there was, and I just
Yeah.
didn't know about it, but I know we had something, I think it was called Project Lead the Way for engineering, but I
Okay.
didn't learn about that till I was a senior and I'd already had my class schedule and everything. But no, being at Aerobotics was my first exposure to robots.
That's
Um,
cool.
yeah,
That and you're doing it with aerospace, and that's like just a cool industry
yeah,
on its own. I talked to another girl and she was telling me how they did have robotics in her high school. She's like, but it was the small ones. And she's like, it didn't really interest me. And she's like, and then I
yeah,
went on a tour somewhere and she's like, I saw how big they can actually get and the
yeah,
stuff that you can do and how you can program them. And she's like, that's what I wanted to do because of the sheer size of it. So it's interesting how exposure is really important for people to really decide what they want to do. So I'm excited for you. I think that's really cool that you
yeah,
took a chance and left your homeland, like, and just moved somewhere else, and now you're doing awesome. So, one of the things that you were recognized for, you were recently named as Women in Tech for 2023 by the Business Alabama magazine.
mhm,
So, what was that like? Who nominated you for that, and how did that recognition make you feel? Because personally, I'm an introvert, so when I first started all of this stuff, I didn't really want like stuff shined on me.
yeah.
So it kind of made me feel weird. But how did that make you feel? Like,
Yeah, so well, first, Noel and Tuttle or Josh Tuttle, on our sales team, I think that they contacted Dalton is the company we work with, and they nominated me for it, which I didn't even know they did that, which it was super cool. It made me feel really special and recognized. I think just being young and, early on in my
mhm,
career, it's not something I like was expecting at all. So when they told me about it, I just thought it was super cool and kind of like you said, it's a little bit like nerve-wracking, kind of like getting attention from people.
yeah.
But I think it's super cool. It's been really, really awesome. It's made me feel really special.
That's cool because I mean, getting named like that means you know what you're doing. Like you
Mhm.
have expertise and you're gonna be successful. So congratulations to you on that
Thank you.
recognition. And can you kind of just explain what a day in the life looks like for you as a process engineer? Because one of the things that I'm trying to do too, especially for kids who are still trying to figure out what career pathway they want to go to, I know like process engineer, that's not really something when I was in high school, that wasn't really something that was like ever promoted. Or
Mhm.
I'm a tech writer right now. Tech writing was never talked about in my
Yeah.
high school. So can you give us a look into what your life looks like and some of your responsibilities and what you do on a daily basis?
Yeah, yeah. So, like, kinda like you said, like, process engineer, I know when I was applying for jobs, I never really gave a second thought to
Mhm.
that 'cause I didn't know what it was. It wasn't talked about in school. So I was like, "I don't know, it's not really, like, what I went to school for." So I don't really know what it does. But I guess, like, day to day, it kinda depends on the projects that we're working on, but our, like, process team, we're down in the lab, we have all of our lab robots, and that's where we do a lot of the development for some of our processes. So a lot of the stuff we mainly focus on painting and applying different coatings, but we also do a lot
Okay.
of sanding or scanning, measurement, taping. So that's kind of where we develop on the back end. How are we gonna, solve this problem like painting or sanding? How are we gonna, paint this part or how are we gonna sand this? So we kind of do all the back end like problem solving and how to figure that out. And then along with that, we're programming the robots. We're adjusting the HMIs to work with how we need it to work. So it's a lot of different things, but the main goal is to figure out a solution of how to paint or sand or scan these different parts.
That's really cool. So then what do you like most about the robotics and automation space? Because it is, still fairly kind of new.
Mhm.
And we keep seeing all these new advancements now. Like, what was yesterday's technology is probably already dated by the time we hit in next week. So what's
Mhm.
some of your favorite things about working in that space? And, what are some of the trends that you're looking forward to?
Yeah, I think some of my favorite things are just like improving different processes. we have so many like man hours going to, painting or sanding, all these manual processes. I think adjusting and adapting them to do it with a robot, it makes it faster, it makes it more efficient. I
Mhm.
just think it's cool that we're, automating these processes that go on. I just think it's really cool to like, help with like cost savings and just improvement and reducing man hours. I just think it's really cool to like be a part of that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, and just to work with robots, like,
yeah.
what do you do? I work with robots. Like, I think that's just really cool to
Yeah,
do.
it's definitely interesting. It's definitely, again, like, not something I expected to do, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah. So in your opinion, because we talked about this where, there's a lack of understanding of what's available while you're in high school.
Mhm.
And, maybe like you didn't get directed in the right way by the time you did hit college and you were still undecided. In your opinion, what are companies missing the mark on in terms of recruiting the next generation workforce? And, especially women, because there's still a low percentage of women in engineering classes. I've talked to several students, and they're like, I'm one of maybe three in a class of
Mhm.
30.
Yeah.
And there's still that in the actual workforce, too, where yes, there's a lot of women across the United States and across the globe. But then if you look at specific communities, it's still low percentages of women. And thank the Lord for like LinkedIn and other social apps because we wouldn't be able to come together and have conversations with one another without that type of
Mhm.
technology. So, what do you think companies could do a little bit better in terms of, bringing awareness about these opportunities to the high schools and maybe even the middle and elementary schools?
Yeah, I think honestly, just like promoting it to younger people at an earlier age so they know what's out there.
Hmm.
In terms of women specifically, just from my experience, I think inclusivity is super important. I think like bringing people in and making them feel a part of your family rather than just someone who's here to just get the job done, I think is really important. I know previously at my other job, there was just, a little bit of like feeling left out or just kind of like I felt like the only girl, but that's one of the things I've loved about Aerobotix is even though I'm, like, the only female engineer there, I don't feel like it. Like, I don't feel like I walk into a room and I'm like, "Oh gosh, I'm the only girl." Like, I never think about it, and I think just for other companies, it's super important when integrating women into your system to make them not feel like they're the only girl or they're one of few. Like, just making them feel like they're part of the family, I think is super important.
I think that's a really good point because there was a campaign going around, and a lot of women feel that way too, where they're like, I don't want to be known as a woman engineer or woman
Mhm.
manufacturer. I just want to be known for my skill set. So if they can just
Yeah.
keep the environment comfortable and inclusive, like
Mhm.
we don't have to point out the obvious. Like, yeah, everybody
Yeah.
knows that I'm a girl. So
Yeah.
I think you make a really good point that company culture is essential in terms of making everyone feel comfortable regardless of what they look like or how they identify. So I think that's
Mhm.
really cool of Biotics too. And I didn't know you were the only engineer.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Was that intimidating at all for you to come into that workspace?
Yeah, it was very intimidating. I try not to, like, let it show, but, coming in, just out of college, I don't obviously, this is a new, like, industry for me. I don't really know anything. A lot of the stuff I've learned on the job. So coming in, not only being the only girl, but not having a lot of relevant experience with specifically robotics was very intimidating, but, not once did I ever feel like, "Oh, she doesn't know what she's talking about. She's not
Yeah.
capable of this." Like, no one's ever made me feel that, and I think that's just helped me grow even more and made me more comfortable to ask questions and reach out to people because they didn't make me feel like, "She doesn't know what she's talking about," or "She's a girl, so, like,
Yeah.
let's let someone else work on it." So they've been really good about that, and I think, it was intimidating. I think even at my previous job, I was a little intimidated about coming in as the only girl, um,
Right.
but I think it kinda goes back to the inclusion aspect is making them feel welcome, they'll wanna stay and
Mhm.
be a part of the team for a lot longer.
So in terms of like your career trajectory and your career growth, like are there things specifically that Aerobiotics does in to help you with continuous improvement? Like do they offer courses or college education? Like what
Mhm.
how are they helping you continuing to challenge yourself and learn about the upcoming trends that are coming in within your space?
Yeah, so I think just as a company, I know that we offer, like, a lot of our techs, like, continued education so they can get a degree. For me specifically, Aerobotix has been really good about letting me kind of learn what I want to learn. So like recently I've asked my boss if I could kind of learn a little bit more about controls. I've been doing a lot of process and robot programming, but I kind of want to learn about how, all of our devices that we put into the system talk to each other and they've been really, really cool about like, hey, why don't you work on this? They've been letting me kind of just learn what I want to learn, which has been pretty cool. It's been definitely challenging, but I appreciate them kind of letting me decide my own path, which has been cool.
Yeah, that's awesome. So have you been able to go to any trade shows yet with them or?
Yeah, so I went to I think it was FabTech last fall, and that was really cool. I again, like being new to robotics, like I only have seen robotics in our industry, how we apply them, but
Yeah.
wow, there were so many different booths. I was just amazed with like the amount of different like products and processes these robots were dealing with.
Yeah, I went to I remember my first trade show was in Rosemont, Illinois, so it was on a smaller
Oh
scale.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, yeah, this is fun, whatever. But then
Yeah.
I went to bigger shows like FabTech, Pack Expo,
Mhm.
IMTS, and then the biggest one that I've been, and I don't even know if it's still around. I haven't heard about it, but it's called Electronica, and it was in Munich, and it was on an old. That's where Automatica is held, and I think
Okay.
Hanover Messe is held there too. But it's on an old like airfields, um, like airline field, so all the hallways are air hangars. So they're
Oh,
like a
really?
mile or 2 miles long, and then the whole thing is like 3 miles long. It's just huge, and some of the
Yeah.
major brands that show up there just have like multi-million dollar booths that are just like 2 stories and
Yeah.
all this techno like it's amazing to see. So,
Yeah.
hopefully I will run into you at an upcoming
Yeah.
show. That would be awesome to meet you in person. Well, in terms of like anything else coming up, like what are you looking forward to in this industry? Like what are some of the other things that you might want to pursue outside of controls?
Right now, that's kind of what I'm focusing on. And I think, like, obviously continue maybe doing robot programming and controls and all that. I've tried doing a little bit of like project management and stuff. I don't know if I like that as much as doing the
A
the back
lot.
end stuff. It's a lot, yeah, for sure.
For
Um,
anyone who's not familiar with project management, there's a lot involved with
yeah.
this.
Yeah, well, definitely, like, getting used to just, like, interfacing with customers daily is definitely something new for me. I'm a little bit on the shyer end, so it's definitely, like, a little bit of a challenge, but, we'll get there.
Yeah, eventually, yeah. That I mean, and that's all you gotta do. You gotta just keep going at it and it becomes easier as with time.
Mhm.
Well, do you have any advice for, any other women who might be younger than you or even currently, like, if they're kind of stuck on deciding what pathway they want to go, do you have any
Mhm.
advice for them before I get to my last question with you?
Yeah, for sure. So I actually recently have been talking to this one girl. So I used to coach basketball at a high school in this area, and she
Okay.
had talked to me about wanting to do engineering. She wasn't sure what she wanted to do, and she just had so many questions about what each concentration does and this and that, and kind of back to what we talked about. Like I guess her high school just didn't do a good job of like providing information on what's out there. But me and her have been talking a lot the last couple months. And I guess if I could say something to anybody, in her position is just try it. If you're somewhat interested, just go for it. And you can always switch your major, you can always change your route. But if you're the any bit interested, don't let anything, deter you just because, it's a mostly male dominated field or you don't know anything about it. But if you're interested, just try it. And if you don't like it, that's fine. But if you might love it. So just go for
Yeah.
it.
I think that's a good point, and to add on to that, even for anyone who might be around my age,
Hmm.
um, you can always start over. Like it's
Oh
never
yeah.
too late to start over. And I know
Yeah.
women older than me who like just started in manufacturing, and
Hmm.
they were like, the only thing I wish I would have done different is started it sooner so I would have more
Yeah.
time, but they just didn't know about it. So that's all great advice. Well, I like to ask all of my guests if you had one ask for our audience, what would that ask be for them?
I mean, I guess kind of going off what we just said, like even if it's not manufacturing, whatever you want to do, just go for it. You don't feel like you're like stuck in the bubble that you're in. If you feel like you want to make a change or you want to try something new, I would just ask you just try it and just go for it and let this, be a sign for you to chase after what you want.
I love it. Well, Sammy, I want to thank you again for taking the time to record with me today. I know that we're recording on a Saturday, so I really appreciate that you're
Yeah.
flexible. So thank you, because your story is important, and I'm glad that we got a chance to share it. But if anybody has any more questions for you or Aerobotix, where should they go and how can they connect with you?
Yeah, they can reach out to me on LinkedIn, or I think we can reach out to Aerobotix on LinkedIn. Either one works. Or, if they want to contact me another way, they can reach out to you and then you can forward along my email. That's fine too.
Awesome. Well, thank you again so much, Sammy. I appreciate it. And Ann Wyatt, I'm shouting out to you. She's near you, so maybe you should hook up with her and
Yeah, for
take a
sure.
tour of Aerobotix, because, again, she's a sweet. It's funny because I know when she's kind of frustrated, she'll tell someone, "Oh, bless your heart," but she says it in a way where you can tell she's a little frustrated, but because she's
Yeah,
so polite and sweet,
yeah,
it's hilarious how to kind
yeah.
of distinguish between those. But well, thank you so much, Sammy. I really appreciate it, and good luck to you and everything that you're learning. I hope you do wonderful in the controls area, and yeah, I hope to see you at an upcoming trade show. So
Yeah,
thanks
thank you
everyone
for
for tuning
having
in.
me.
Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Bye, everyone.
Okay, see ya. Bye.
This episode of Mavens of Manufacturing has been sponsored by Z Ink Solutions. Z Ink Solutions. This isn't your grandmother's copywriting service. We provide copywriting and copy editing services that provide impactful text and memorable storytelling for a variety of brands and industries. Contact us today at zinkSolutions.com. That's z-inksolutions.com.